Springbok Saga is proudly brought to you by Castle Lager, the taste that stood the test of time.
Welcome to the Springbok Saga. This is the history of South African rugby from one World Cup victory in 1995 to the next in 2007. Brave men, great deeds and wonderful test matches, and we have gone and traced them all. Accompanying me on this exciting journey through our rugby history will be Kola and Chinga. Kola, I can't wait for you to have a look at all this stuff.
Dan, it's a fantastic and a fascinating history post-isolation in South Africa, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. And I think that the stories that we're about to share are some that really do need to be spoken about, and perhaps one or two little things that perhaps the public didn't know.
Yeah, and of course what is true is that the rugby history started in 1891. The green and gold Springbok brand is older than a century. And another very interesting thing for me in 95 is that rugby's history coincided with South Africa's history when our brave new democracy was born.
That really was a turning point, not only for South Africa as well, but the role that rugby played in particular in 1995 is something that I'm sure a lot of people who were around will remember. I myself was still in school at the time, but it was the start of something, and it sparked an interest in me, which I think doesn't only affect me, but certainly filtered through the rest of society.
On 11 February 1990, Nelson Mandela took the most significant steps in his long walk to freedom as he left prison to signal the birth of a new democracy in South Africa. It was history in the making, and South Africans, indeed the world, will never forget the day Mandela was freed.
Sports is very important in the sense that they speak a language which cannot be spoken by political leaders. Sports can reach centers which are far beyond us as political leaders.
Mandela's courage and moral authority would help to unite his divided nation and also have a profound impact on sport, resulting in South Africa being welcomed back into the global sporting arena to participate in international competition. Mandela grasped the appeal of rugby, and his support and close association with the game would prove to be intrinsic to a marvellous new chapter which was about to be written in the storied annals of Springbok rugby. The immediate post-isolation years were exciting and controversial and set a pattern for Springbok rugby that can only be described as a saga. Engagements with old adversaries such as New Zealand, Australia, France and England would recommence, and the wearers of the Springbok colours and their coaches would often find themselves very much in the eye of the storm.
Van Suid-Afrika, Morris, Rob Andrew, Engeland wat aan die hardloop gaan, Tony Underwood. Die verdediging van Suid-Afrika word getoetst. Dis Ben Clark in die doellyn en dis Ben Clark wat oorgaan.
One such being Ian McIntosh, the first non-Springbok to be put in charge of a national side, who took the Springboks on tour to New Zealand in 1994, and his controversial departure would recur throughout the next 13 seasons.
Mac was a little bit harshly treated as a coach that was forward-thinking. We toured New Zealand in 1994, and the difference between winning a series in New Zealand and losing was a pass that we didn't give in the opening test match and a punch that was thrown in the last test match. So the margin of victory and defeat in the competitive environment is incredibly small. So Mac played a tremendous role in my life, and he was the first coach to make me captain. People seem to forget that, I was made captain under Ian McIntosh and not Kitch Christie, because later on I became labelled as, I'm Kitch's boy.
I was tremendously honoured to be appointed coach of the Springbok side. I took it as a great honour, and that's why I would have never done anything else to disgrace it, because when they asked me, when they replaced me, I had to respect that because of the respect I have for Springbok rugby.
South Africa's rugby public demanded results, which in terms of the Springboks meant only one thing: victories. The tour to New Zealand was viewed as a failure, and a crucial decision was made by the then president of the South African Rugby Football Union, Dr. Louis Late, to install Kitch Christie as the new Springbok coach. Christie succeeded John Williams and Ian McIntosh in the job and summed up his and the nation's feelings by stating that his was to be an ambulance job. Christie included a young man called Jake White, seen here in the background in his role as the 1995 team's video analyst, and little did we know then what the future would hold for the coach from Jeppe.
Kitch had a platform. He had a platform that Ian McIntosh gave him going into 1995, and he used that platform so well. It was an ambulance job, and he came with that in the back of his head, that listen, we've got to make some serious decisions early on, and I knew how he operated since 1992. Discipline is first and foremost. You don't shirk, you don't cut corners, you're not late. All those values he drilled into the team, and we trained incredibly hard. We said to ourselves we needed to be the fitter side, not the second or the third fitter side. And if we're not the fitter side, then obviously the other team would have done their preparation better than us. So we trained very hard. And the players thrived on that. We had a bunch of individuals that they were winners. They hated to lose, and they were competitive in that environment. So when we trained, they were constantly pushing one another. There was always a competitive edge when it comes to sprinting, power, endurance. All those sort of things just gelled, and we could push each other to that next hurdle. Secondly, he knew how to select a side. He knew how to select a side that would perform, and he knew how to turn their buttons to make them perform at the ultimate torque.
The Springboks adopted the slogan, "One team, one country," and in an atmosphere charged with emotion, the opening ceremony was held at Newlands. Spectators spontaneously began to chant, "Nelson, Nelson, Nelson," when President Mandela appeared on the field.
Please rise for the national anthem of South Africa.
Your presence in South Africa affirms the unity in diversity and the humanity in healthy context that our young democracy has come to symbolize. On behalf of our rainbow nation, I welcome you all. It is my privilege to declare this, the 1995 Rugby World Cup tournament, open. Thank you.
When I walked out there at 2:30 and they started chanting my name, 2 weeks before they booed me, we came down there and played Western Province. So I think that it lifted us all up, including myself. We went back into that dressing room and we sort of said to each other, guys, we cannot lose today. We cannot lose for those people out there. We cannot lose for South Africa. And I think that was one of the best performances we put in.
In the team room, we were very, very nervous. Some of the guys were almost too emotional. Young guys that just came into the side were very, very nervous. Some senior players had a smile on their face because they toured New Zealand, they toured Australia. And Kitch came into this huddle, and I was talking to the guys and quite focused. And he stuck his head in and he just looked around and he said, "Geez, I'm glad I'm not playing against you lot." And he turned around and walked out of the changing room. And then when we ran out, just like stadium erupted. It was such a special feeling, and I still get goose flesh.
The Springboks were the underdogs against the star-studded Wallaby side, the defending champions, and in the crowd was a young man who would soon have a big role to play, Bob Skinster.
That's the start. Andrews was the target. He's got it. Van der Westhuizen's got Stransky in close enough. Reagan again, he can't get it out. Now it comes out. Is this a chance for Michael Liner? It is! A great score for Michael Liner. Chose to go infield, probably the right option. Can South Africa sprint it quickly enough? James Small, Peter Hendricks. Peter Hendricks. Peter Hendricks! That's a try! What a great try from Peter Hendricks.
This guy had serious pace. You know, as a young player, running behind him, it always looked as if he took off. He had such power. You know, he could accelerate with such venom that it was difficult to keep up with him. And if you look at that move, he just stood up, stepped, and bang. He put on the power. And when he applied that power, he was gone.
Ik denk nie David Campisi, hy was 'n skitterende speler, een van die bestes in die wêreld, maar sy sterkpunt was nog nooit verdediging geweest nie. Jy weet, sy sterkpunt was geweest aanval en ek dink dis miskien hoekom ek hom kon geklop het, was omdat dit nie sy sterkpunt was verdediging nie.
Liner's kicked, it's Eels with a knockdown. Well, there was good pressure from South Africa with the Australians playing the ball on the ground. 1 point the difference. South Africa 14, Australia 13. Lots of concentration. You'll hear it from the crowd. South Africa will want to thrust and try and keep those rucks and walls moving forward. Stransky with a drop. Is that over? Yes, it is. Stransky kick number 5. 4 penalties and a drop.
And watch this coming out to Stransky. He's perfectly balanced. And what a lovely kick.
Well, Chick, it's all about time, I think. And unless you're doing a skip pass early on, the defense closes in on you so quickly. But this is Rudolf Strauly. Van der Westhuizen inside, and Stransky will score! We've seen that move before. The last time round it was Henny LaRue that scored with a switch pass. Stransky's day. Dragan, long pass over the top to Phil Kearns, who's going to score. It's a great try for Phil Kearns, but one senses, Chick, that it's going to be too late in the match.
Now, very important kick by Liner. Any chance they've got of pulling the match out of the fire will be if he converts this and they get another 7 points.
Well, he's pushed this past the right hand upright. Gavin, back it goes, long pass to Campisi. Well tackled that by Yapi Mulder. South Africa want to stay on their feet, but that's the end of the game. Well, who would have believed that South Africa would beat Australia, world champions, and an unbeaten team in the last...
We knew there was a high road and a low road. And for us to take the low road, we would lose to Australia. If we beat Australia, we knew we would take the high road. So we went all out to beat Australia. And I think, to me, that was probably the most moving of all the test matches I've had.
A lot of people said before the game, the moment's going to get too big for us. I think we rose to the moment, and I'm very happy tonight.
And the crowd certainly carried you.
Yes, definitely. You know, they were behind us. I haven't seen a crowd like this in South Africa in all my life, and I think it's been what will be one of the greatest victories ever for a Springbok side.
After their victory over the Wallabies, the Springboks were up and running, and rugby fever was rife as a big crowd turned up at Newlands for their second match, an historic first ever clash with Romania.
Generously distributed outside of the stadium. What do we have in store now? Will it be a big shove from South Africa? In goes Johan Roux to lend a little bit of support. And Hendricks to take the scrum half berth. Will it be needed? South Africa have scored.
Solid scrum. South Africa have proved themselves to be a very, very strong scrummaging nation in the past, and Peter Hendricks prepares himself and Adrian Ruchter just makes the last effort.
Brinz's tap down, that was well taken. Good running here by the Romanians. Can they find the close-in support? Can he open the account of the Romanians? He certainly struck it very high as Ivanchuk. That's over. Maybe there are more kicking options for Henny Leroux and Johan Roux to get the forwards going towards the Romanian try line. Brecci, he's in all sorts of trouble, taken there by the South African loose forwards. This is good play by South Africa. Are they in possession? Well, that's a good try then for South Africa, and that will be credited to Adrian Ruchter.
They've got their Romanians on the back foot, and who comes out with it but the blonde-headed Adrian Ruchter.
South Africa's defence has been equal to the task. On the inside is Richie, and here's a chance for Romania. Can they get through? Yeah, this could well be a try to them. Yes, it is.
Well, it's that man, Guronescu, who scores that vital try. And just look how well we've been saying all afternoon how the South Africans need to straighten up. And Brecci just shows how it's done. Super pick up there by the flanker.
This nature, and going onto the field as firm favourites.
Then it was off to Port Elizabeth for the final pool match against Canada at the Boede Erasmus Stadium, an occasion that could not have produced more drama had it been scripted by a Hollywood screenwriter. The preambles were over, the players were facing each other for the kickoff, and then the lights went out.
It was turbulent times. For me as an individual, very, very emotional times. You know, we trained on the Friday night. And the lights went out. I hope this happens. This doesn't happen tomorrow night. At exactly that time, the lights went out again, and the guys were really focused. It was very difficult to get them to refocus because there was the team had to be re-energized almost, and that was important to get that team re-energized. And I was not going to play. I wasn't selected to play against Canada.
The game developed into a form of primal warfare, and darkness of a different kind descended.
Winston Stanley. Well, that's unnecessary, one feels, from Winston Stanley initially.
They were very aggressive, and if you look at the video again, it was unnecessary because the game was gone. They were chasing the game, and what they did and how we reacted was quite harsh. If you look at James Dalton, who came in as a third man, he didn't really throw a punch. He ran in, he grabbed the guy, and he pulled him to the side, and that set off a chain of events, which led him to this big punch-up. And in the end, the rules stated that the third man into the fracas gets sent off. And, we were very disciplined. We realized in 94 and in 93, ill discipline will cost us the World Cup. But the reaction afterwards to me was incredible. I felt angry. James was a very, very big part of our team, and he was gone. And then Peter Hendricks, he's a great player, unbelievable star for us, was gone. And I felt that I couldn't handle it. It was very difficult for me as a captain to accept this because I thought it was wrong. We were not the aggressors.
Ek is baie teleurgesteld dat dit op so 'n wyse moes tot 'n einde kom. Wat ek gedoen het was nie reg nie. Ek is nie om dinge te regverdig wat gebeur het nie. Maar ek voel net 'n bietjie dat die straf was te erg geweest.
Thanks for everything. It was great while it lasted.
So Dan, it was now onto the business end. The really tough matches coming up, quarter-final time, and also one of the big unifying factors of the World Cup for South Africa, that man, Chester Williams.
Kola, you know, it was amazing. Every airport in South Africa had these great big billboards of Chester Williams. And then, of course, he got hurt before the first game, so he was out. But then, because of the goings-on at Port Elizabeth and because of a loophole in the rules, South Africa got Chester Williams back. And what a wonderful day it turned out for him when we played Samoa in the quarterfinal at Ellis Park.
Unfortunately, Peter Hendricks and James Dalton got banned from the tournament because of a fight against Canada in PE, and I got called up again for that squad, and that makes the second life for me in the World Cup.
I thought Chester Williams did such a wonderful job in focusing our attention again, because we were a bit loose and he came into the team. He was going to be part of our side.
Africa have got numbers on the outside. Now he has a real chance. That's great running by Joubert. Chester Williams will score.
The fullback under he ran through a gap, and I just supported him, and he passed the ball to me on I think between the 10-meter line and the their 22. I ran straight for the corner and just scored a try in the corner. Their fullback tried to tackle me, but I was already over the try line.
For the fourth time, South Africa have a chance. This is a long pass. Can Kruger make something of us? And Pienaar back inside is Chris Rousseau. Running off the ball beautifully. There was Ruben Kruger. Chester Williams will score.
The second one, I got the ball from Ruben Kruger. I passed it back to Chris Rousseau, and Chris Rousseau passed it back to Ruben, and Ruben passed it to me, and I just dived over the corner.
Aggressive driving from him down the line. It goes. Ruben Kruger. He's done really well. Now he has a chance for Chester Williams. Can Williams get in? Great running by Chester Williams. Hat-trick for him.
My third one was I had to run from my own halfway line straight to the other court, the right-hand side corner. Scored it there. And my fourth one, I'm not sure if it was a try or not, but the ref gave it.
He's had a sterling game. Pienaar. Van der Westhuizen just held up short. Chester Williams playing scrum half, going for his fourth try. Chester Williams has made history by becoming the first South African to score 4 tries in an international to round off a quite amazing day.
I'm still not sure if I grounded the ball or not, but the ref gave it, so that was my 4th try.
4 tries. I mean, he was just incredible. You could see his hunger and his urgency. He wanted to play, and he wanted to be part of it.
And after the game, I wasn't even sure. I was like, carrying on as it normal was, and then people come and congratulate me for scoring the most try in a Springbok Test game, and I only realized then that it was the record, and I was in the moon with that performance of myself.
Still playing an advantage before blowing for time. Now then, the ball goes dead. Jim Fleming's whistle goes for full time at the end of this quite amazing game. What a triumph it's turned out to be for Chester Williams, the South African winger. Forced out of this tournament in the first instance because of injury, brought back in dramatic fashion because of the sending off of Peter Hendricks, because of the suspension, I should say, of Peter Hendricks. He finishes up with 4 tries in this fantastic victory for Francois Pienaar's side by 42 points to 14 to take South Africa into the semi-finals.
We thought that we would beat Samoa because we did that two months prior to the World Cup. We beat them by 60 points. We were comfortable that if we get a good score, they will have to chase, and we could just calm down the game in the second half and move on because job done. And we did exactly that. But that's when we lost Juba, and after the game I was angry, I was annoyed because Andre Joubert meant a lot to our team. Having the privilege of a fly half that is right-footed, an inside centre that can also play fly half, and a fullback that's left-footed. As a captain, it gave you so many options to relieve pressure and on attack. These guys could just slot in and he could play either side of the field. And losing him was a big blow. We thought we lost him until he came back.
Dit het heel toevallig van 'n dokter in Ierland het hy gesien ek breek toe my hand en ek wil toe die Saterdag speel. En want in hockey, hulle speel mos hierdie tipe hockey daar in Ierland waar baie ouens hulle hande breek en dan gebruik hulle hierdie soos hulle sê 'n glove om hulle te beskerm. En hy het hierdie ding vir my oorgestuur en ek het hierdie handskerm die Saterdagoggend ontvang, seker so 10:00 die oggend. Toe hy daar in Durban aangekom en ek het probeer en net so dit het baie goed gewerk.
On the morning of their semi-final against France in Durban, the Boks awoke to leaden skies and a downpour of biblical proportions, and the field at the Kings Park Stadium was literally transformed into a pool of water.
I couldn't believe it. The weather was just atrocious. I've never seen weather like that. It was quite bizarre.
South Africa were in danger of falling foul of the tournament rules.
I never realised that if the game didn't take place that night, we were out. I never realised it. And when I came back with Derek Bevan to explain this to me, it was like somebody hit me with a sledgehammer. It was just unbelievable. The rules of the competition stated that if the game didn't take place that evening, the game would be cancelled, not postponed, and the team with the worst disciplinary record would go out of the World Cup. And we wanted to play. We really were so keen to play. And I guess I thought Dr. Lay did a great job. I thought Monet did an exceptional job in calming the emotions down and saying, hang on a minute. That break in weather did come and the game did take place. But you know, when you look each other in the eye and you say, but you didn't, because your arm was between the ball and the try line. And we were that close. And that was true, you know. I thought he scored. I actually thought he was in because I came from behind and I actually pulled my head out to look at the scoreboard to see how much time there was that close.
I think the hand of God came down and tripped him up, to be honest, because it was like I was there. I didn't realise what was actually going on, and he almost fell over me, you know, and all I did was hold on. I just remember grabbing his legs and just holding on for dear life.
Geleverd in daai toestande was ongelooflik. Dit is regtig skitterend. Skitterende spel geleverd.
1995, the final score here in Durban in this semi-final. South Africa 19, France 15.
Dan, South Africa had a great run all the way to the final, a tough match against France, oh so close the result. But all the while, the All Blacks were lurking, and I suppose a little more than just lurking. They were beating everybody, and there was that little matter of that great big man, John Alomu.
Well, it was hardly a small matter, the great big man, John Alomu Kola. Yes, you're quite right. As we swam out of Durban, the next day, the other semi-final was between New Zealand and England at Newlands in Cape Town. And everybody wanted the All Blacks to get through because they wanted the fantasy final, South Africa against New Zealand, the greatest rivals. So there was a lot of focus on the game at Newlands, and what a game Alomu had. 4 tries. Mike Catt was crashed into the history of rugby forever because of having been run over by John Alomu. In fact, the All Blacks were very dominant in that tournament. They'd got, interestingly, an away Grand Slam by beating Scotland, Ireland, Wales and England. John Alomu burst onto the international rugby scene like a meteor during the 95 Rugby World Cup in South Africa. With the build of a weightlifter and the pace of a sprinter, the big All Blacks stunned international rugby audiences during the tournament as he scored 7 tries in 5 matches, including 4 in the semi-final against England. In his first ever World Cup match against Ireland in Johannesburg, the Tongan Torpedo scored 2 tries in the All Blacks' 43-19 win, and he also proved to be more than a handful for Scotland in their quarter-final. But the match that marked him as arguably the most influential player ever at a World Cup tournament was the All Blacks semi-final against England at Newlands, as he thundered over for 4 tries. The most famous of all, this one, as he blasted straight through England fullback Mike Catt.
I remember Chester saying to me on the Friday night, we were sitting in the bus coming back from training, and he said, well, actually Johnny Roux said it, I think. Johnny said to me, all you got to do is tackle him once. Nobody expects you to tackle him even once. If you tackle him once, you'll be a hero. And that made a big difference. And then Chester came up and he said, just hold him up, just delay his run a little bit and you'll get support. So there was a lot of contribution from the other guys, as there was on the field. I mean, that day, Chester took him out. I remember Yapi taking him out, and Yours took him here in the first 5 minutes of the game. Yeah, but also so that's expected. But it was great. I remember the first thing that I remember seeing when I ran out, there was a banner. Somebody was holding a banner in the back corner there, and it said, "Johnny, you've got a small problem." And I just thought, well, that's what people believe of me, and it made me feel special. It was the rising that I needed.
No, we knew that we had to look after Loma because they're going to use him, and that's what they tried. If you look at, I had a tackle on him, and the tackle Yapi gave on him, if you look at the game in perspective, then you'll see the guys would have tackled each other just to get to Loma. And I think that was part of our game plan, and we did it to great success.
The 1995 Rugby World Cup tournament could not have produced a more perfect final. The Springboks against their keenest rivals, the All Blacks. The New Zealanders had been the Springboks' first test opponents after re-emergence, triumphing 27 points to 24 in a classic one-off international in Johannesburg in 1992, and local fans dreamed of a rematch on the biggest stage of all. The stage was set for an epic at Ellis Park, and an already electric atmosphere was driven up a few notches by the shuddering shock of an SAA Boeing 747 roaring low over the stadium. The words "Good luck, Bokke" emblazoned on the underside of its wings.
It's a very exciting moment, but also scary, because here you have the opportunity that you've dreamt about your whole life. Since the first time your dad bought you a pair of rugby boots, and the first time you put on your Springbok tracksuit, which I did. And I phoned my mom and my dad, and I told them that I've got my tracksuit on. It's just a special feeling. And now you get the opportunity. It's there. But you're playing against a team that is such a competitive team.
Please rise for the national anthems.
I was just very emotional. I can't remember really what I thought, but just unbelievable pride. I never in my life thought that our president would be in the changing room, and I never in my life imagined that at such an special occasion that he would have the Springbok on his heart. And he walked into the changing room and he had the Springbok on his heart. And he just said good luck to the guys, and you could see the guys were fixated. And when he turned around, there was this number 6 on his back, and that was me. I was just incredibly emotional. I couldn't sing the anthem. I was just too proud. I was just so focused and so keen to play. And I've become very good friends with Sean Fitzpatrick. He is a super guy. Really, he's a top bloke. And he tells the story that he said, he looked at us and there were tears running down the cheeks of the players. He looked at these guys, he thought, this will be a tough one today.
Springboks played with huge passion, and just people ask me what's the biggest disappointment in your career. Well, it'd have to be the World Cup final. And yeah, that was pretty disappointing. But just to be involved in the whole occasion, it was just unbelievable. The atmosphere. I've never been involved in an international with such atmosphere and passion. And as you said, it had everything in terms of a final. To go to extra time and then to fall over the last hurdle for us was really disappointing.
We decided we'll line up and we'll respect it. And they came closer, and Jonah lined up against James, and he came closer and closer and closer to James. And as he got closer, Cobus Wiese broke ranks. I actually had to hold the guys back because we spoke about this before, but they were charged. I mean, this is a contest. And he sort of moved in front of James as if to say, you know what, before you get to him, there's a couple of other guys you've got to get to first, or through first. And that was the epitome of our team.
Well, what did New Zealand have in store for South Africa with a kick-off? It's a short one. It doesn't carry 10 metres. That was good ball for South Africa, but they'll have the penalty for the All Blacks being in an offside position.
Yes, so no advantage to be taken there because there's a big advantage in getting a penalty. If you get it out to touch with the new laws, then that side has the advantage of throwing it in. And the first line out of the game is always so terribly important. And today, in modern rugby, the side throwing the ball in usually has quite a distinct advantage because they know exactly what's going to happen. The timing is there, and to win that first line out is very important, but he hasn't found touch.
Stransky was looking for too much distance there. This is Osborne. Wonderful footballer is Osborne, and New Zealand will look to bring him in as often as they can. New Zealand will be pleased with their line-out form as it continues. That was well taken in the front. Now Mertens. The midfielders are strong. They stay on their feet. That's Bunt. South Africa get him down. South Africa coming in there from the wrong side. That was Peter Durant. Such an important kick for New Zealand. As he swung that through, yes, Mertens' first blood to New Zealand. New Zealand deciding to go short line out. They've got Jones, but this is Francois Pienaar. Once again, good ball for South Africa. Stransky. That's good play by Stransky. Looking to drop and then finding space on the inside. Well, South Africa are getting over that advantage line against the All Blacks, and that's critical. Well, Chick, it's pressure from South Africa that's allowing them to get into these situations. The crowd will tell you if it's over.
Well, a pretty fair reflection of the play so far. As you were saying, the first 5 minutes was all New Zealand, second 5 minutes mostly South Africa.
That's a great jump by Ian Jones. That's quality possession from the lineouts that New Zealand are getting. This is Lomu. He's found his way down the middle. Mark Andrews interrupted that initial surge, but South Africa are offsides. Body Swat goes offsides in front of the poles. Having got that first penalty behind you is so important. Often this is classified as a sitter, but at this level of rugby there are no sitters. They're all critically important. He struck it well.
That's why they got the pull up they put in, and this is their best situation yet.
South Africa decide not to test the New Zealand scrum because Andrews is the man picking up. He didn't quite go into that set piece. Van der West stays in looking to go himself. That's Henny LaRue up there. Is this going to be a try for South Africa? Well, take nothing away from New Zealand in doing so well to keep that ball off the floor. That was Ruben Kruger.
There were video referees that would have showed that he scored a try, and there was a couple of marginal calls. I mean, Joel breaking on the side almost went. James was there, so it were huge margin calls. And you know, I don't blame the referee Ed Morrison for not giving the try. It was such a big match, and he just ran around the side, so he couldn't actually see that Ruben scored. But he came and he went right across the try line. If you look at the reaction, he was very disappointed. But we spoke about this beforehand. We said, you know, that we can't do anything if a decision goes against us. What do we do? Lose energy? No. He made a decision. If we agree or disagree with the decision, it doesn't matter. What matters is our mindset, our focus. And our focus is we can't change that. Let's just rather focus on what we need to do to win this game.
They have a better position now. They're closer to the New Zealand goal line. Once again, it's Andrews at the back. In goes Mulder and Van der Westhuizen to lend a shove. They're pushing New Zealand back. Well, that was a great scrum from South Africa and a huge psychological advantage. Mertens 2 penalty goals. Stransky 1. Will it be 2? Dead quiet in the stadium. Stransky again. Once again, good ball for South Africa. Can they make something of it? Rousseau for the 3rd time involved in that move. Ruben Kruger. Now to stretch it, Stransky. Down the line it goes, and this is Andre Joubert. New Zealand really have been equal to the task with those South African thrusts in the midfield. Stransky's got lots of time. Can he get it straight? Yes, he's got it. South Africa go into the lead for the first time in the match. With Bunsen Little, this is Lomu. South Africa attacked the ball in that move, and that was good play by them, but it went backwards. This is Lomu. Did that ball bounce forward? The referee says no. Great tackle from Hannes Strydom. Van der Westhuizen does well to run wide to assist with the defensive work. This is Osborne. Now Jonah Lomu and Andre Joubert. The big man has got strength. What a great tackle from Yapi Mulder.
Here's the big man, Andre Joubert after him, and there's a tackle, a good tackle, holding on to the leg.
Quibus Visser in the front. New Zealand get it. This is Walter Little looking for space. Once again, New Zealand decide to go left, but this is Mertens' drop. It's there. Now, Fitzpatrick. It's on his shoulders. He finds Jones again. Jones so easily just going up with 2 hands. And then Bishop can bring the release. Well, control in the lineouts is so important, and Ian Jones has shown today for New Zealand that he's able to do that. Well, that's the closing score, 9 points all, and now there will be a 5-minute break. This is the first time in the match, a 10 minutes of 2 halves, and after that, well, we'll discuss that situation, but a quick break for the players.
What went on in the Springbok camp at that break?
Well, there was only 2 of us sitting in the little box, which, you know, there's a little box that I had at Ellis Park. And when they blew it 9 all, I think I turned to Casey and said, Casey, I think we're going to beat them.
Never thought of extra time, no. When the final whistle blew, it was, we were tired. We were absolutely knackered, and so were they.
Now what does Stransky do? Looking to go inside, that's a hoist from him. Stransky did well to step inside. But Yapi Mulder was offside from that kick, so New Zealand, well, this is an opportunity for them. One of the most important kicks in young Andrew Mertens' career as an All Black. Normally shown a lot of confidence. Has he struck that well? A great kick from Andrew Mertens. There's not many players are tested with this type of situation where they have to play in extra time. Tip kick through there from Little. This is Andre Joubert. Picks up well, does Joubert. Back to Pienaar. The huge tackle on Francois Pienaar by Zinzan Brook. Chester Williams has had few opportunities in this match. He shrugs off that tackle from Mark Ellis. Extremely well done by Chester Williams. He kept that ball, and this is James Small. Well, the pass went forward, so South African hands are on their head. Joel Stransky feels quite alarmed. Chris Rousseau looking for Hannes Strydom. That's the tap down. It was well played by Peter Durant. Get New Zealand onto the back foot. Stransky. This time the South African midfielder onside. That's the tap down. Pagel picks up. Well, penalty's gone South Africa's way because New Zealand went over the top there. Stopped that ball from coming out. This is his kick of great importance from Stransky. Yes, he's got it. Well, remember that we have 2 halves of just 10 minutes in this extra time playoff, and we've had then the 2 penalties, one from Mertens and one from Joel Stransky.
Now there in the middle is there's the chairman of the World Cup sitting next to Mr. Mandela.
Drop kick. He's written his name across rugby history, perhaps.
When the chips are down, Joel can win a game for us, and that's so important. And the fact that Joel could drop the ball better than most lied in the practice on the field, the effort and time and energy that Joel applied himself on the training field. And Keach believed that when the chips are down, if you construct the right move, a drop goal is the easiest 3 points.
And look at this again, Stransky, but under pressure from Mertens, and he gets his...
I just felt that it was worth a shot, and I was shouting cancel, cancel, and I think Rudolph Australia heard Joost shouting cancel, cancel, and Rudolph held it in. And Joost gave me the ball, and I think, in all fairness, I think Bashop made a bit of a mistake from scrum off there. He tried to stop Joost passing instead of maybe putting me under a bit more pressure, because he would have been coming to me on the blocking side more than Andrew Mertens. He sort of came out the corner instead of from in front.
Stransky, he's having the drop kick. He's written his name across rugby history, perhaps.
Is this the last scrum of the match? Stransky and Henny LaRue are moving around. LaRue goes in. That is it. The final whistle then. South Africa win this Rugby World Cup final by 15 points to 12. And what a dramatic finish for the host country. It has always been said that the host country has a huge advantage. Well, South Africa have used that to their best of their ability. And an absolutely dramatic finish. Just look at those men out there in the middle. Francois Pienaar, the captain, very cheerful, getting his men together. He's asked for all the reserves to come down and join them, and there'll be a couple of words of thanks to all those people that have made this possible. Coach Kits Christie, he's hoisted onto the shoulders of his players.
Then we had 65,000 South Africans here today. Tremendous support.
David, we didn't have 60,000 South Africans. We had 43 million South Africans.
I now call on our President, Mr. Mandela, to make the presentation of the William Webb Ellis Trophy to the captain of the winning team, Francois Pienaar.
I couldn't have asked for a better career, a more amazing career, and the pinnacle of my rugby career was to be at the right place at the right time, to be able to receive the most amazing trophy in the world from one of the greatest leaders that the world has ever seen.
Springboks had won the Rugby World Cup, uniting South Africans as never before and sparking unbridled and joyous celebrations.
And of course, it wasn't the end of the road for Kitch Christie and his charges. Nelson Mandela had played his role. Francois Pienaar had played his role. Kitch Christie had played a phenomenal role as coach and went on to extend that winning record of his.
He had 3 more tests to play against Wales and then on tour against Italy and England. The Welsh test is significant because that was the debut of a young man called Gary Teichmann from Natal. And then Kitch took the team overseas. And sadly, none of us had any idea that would be his last act as the Springbok coach. But he did end up taking the Boks to more victories, so that his record in the great year of 95 was 10 out of 10, and his record as coach before he left was 14 out of 14, the only coach with a 100% record.
Change is something we've grown accustomed to in South African rugby, Dan, and we'll look at what happened in 1996, where a lot of that took place in our next episode.
Yeah, 1996 indeed was a watershed year. It changed the face of rugby. Professionalism came in. The Springboks would end up with a new coach. Francois Pienaar would depart the scene. An amazing year. We'll focus on all that in the next episode, 1996. We thought it most appropriate to end 95 with a tribute to Kitch Christie, one of South Africa's greatest ever coaches.
I think a coach is a player. He feels like they feel. He takes the pain that they take. He watches them train, he watches them win, he watches them lose. So he's basically a player.
It's history now, and it's been documented and it's been accepted that Kitch, I think, along with Francois, and in a different respect, the president himself, were the key figures in the World Cup. I mean, Kitch he planned it. He planned every detail of it. People will never realize that the work that he put into that World Cup, it was his obsession.
He fought cancer for a very long time. And after the World Cup, rugby kept him alive. Rugby was in his blood, and the focus on rugby kept him alive, I thought.
He saw things in each person's character that other persons couldn't see. I mean, I think only your parents could see it.
Always involved his players in decision making, which gave the players themselves a sense of belonging.
He was one of my best coaches I've ever had, and one of my inspirations to win the World Cup.
This episode of Springbok Saga was brought to you by Castle Lager, the taste that stood the test of time.